Welcome back, Gran Turismo fans. So I have something a little different for you today. I do several race or lap analysis for students every week, and since these mistakes are common amongst most players, I decided it's time to start publishing some of these so you guys can all benefit from them too. Everyone stresses about getting faster. No one thinks about how they manage their races. So we're going to see how this race went wrong and how by applying my 4 rules without getting faster, the student could have had a much better result. Firstly, a little background on this student. Alex is a B-rank driver on a controller, and I've been working with him since he started GT7 the best part of about 6 months ago, I think. His big weakness is trail braking. He really struggles with the small range of movement on the trigger. He has chosen to get a wheel soon, where I'm confident we will fix his issues. In terms of track width usage and understanding the racing lines, he is significantly above average for his level. So as you can see, Alex actually qualified on pole in a full BS lobby, which is why when we fix his trail braking, he's going to make some pretty big strides forwards, hopefully into A rank. He's qualified on pole with objectively bad trail braking. I think it's some people just get on with the controller, some people don't. Alex really struggles with it, so I do think in this case, moving to a wheel is actually going to help him once we teach him how to trail brake on a wheel. But as you can see, he qualified on pole, and let's have a look at the start of the race here. So the first couple of corners, they actually go okay. So a little bit deep there, but he's nice and patient through this second turn. Now, interestingly, P2 actually makes a pretty bad mistake here. So he's fully run off track here. He's getting dirty tires on the left-hand side. At this point, if Alex nails the next couple of corners and keeps calm, he's away and gone. But that's not what happens. So the first thing is that Alex doesn't really use enough track here. This is about race experience because Alex knows that in time trial, he's got to be further over here to the left-hand side. This is about race experience and just being comfortable in races, which is something Alex is currently working on. And he's definitely a lot less afraid to get stuck in racing than he used to be. So he's compromising his entry into this corner, and therefore he's going to give himself a bad exit. What's interesting is that P2 does an even worse job of this. What P2 is doing here, I like to call this, he's trying to put Alex in his sights. So it's quite a common problem I see where in order to catch up with the car in front, people don't think execute the corner to the best of my abilities. They literally just aim the car at their target driver that they're trying to catch up, putting them in their sights, like looking through a scope on a rifle, for example. Alex should pull away here. He really should. His entry is, whilst compromised, Alex's entry is still better than P2's here. He should actually pull away here. And as he gets more calmer and better at trail braking, that's exactly what's going to happen. But as it is, Alex is a little bit too cautious on getting on the throttle, doesn't get a good exit, doesn't get a strong exit, doesn't use much track on the exit. As you can see here, we should be using a lot more track here on the exit if you're coming out the corner at the right speed. And so this actually allows P2 with his objectively worse corner to actually close the gap up a little bit. Then what happens as we get down to turn 4, is that? So you can see here that P2 closed the gap up on Alex. And this is where his race begins to turn, because he's gone from having a couple of really good opportunities to pull away from P2 to now P2 has caught right up to him. And this is where the first bad decision comes in. So P2's got a run on Alex. P2 has overspeed. Not a tremendous amount, but there is overspeed. And being a B-rank driver, he's very unlikely to think patiently. He's going for the move. He's going for the inside already. At this point, you've got to give him room. Now, it's not a tremendously large overlap. It's very small. But the bottom line is, if there's any overlap whatsoever and they haven't dive bombed you, you've got to give them room. Now, the correct decision here, I want to bring the camera up here so that you can see the entry to the corner. The correct decision is for Alex to move over to the right-hand side and prioritize his exit, even if that means losing a position. It's lap 1. You're still in contention for the win. What Alex does instead is actually try to defend it. And this is a bad decision. You can see there he tries to come over, and now they're both compromising their turn. And this is only allowing P3 and P4 to catch up. Take the proper line into the corner, which gives you a good exit. Let this guy have the compromise line, and then hopefully you slipstream him down the long straight, potentially go for a move into the big hairpin down the bottom of the track. This is what I like to call not thinking beyond the apex. Alex at this time was literally thinking, how do I get to the apex first? Think about what happens if you do get to the apex first. Are you going to let other people catch up and start getting into other battles? And actually, that's exactly what happens because their lines are compromised. They're both compromised going into the corner. They both get bad turns. They're both missing speed. And there we go. P3's now caught up. Whereas if Alex had let P1 go and tried to bump draft him down in this long straight and worked with him, there's a good chance that P3 doesn't catch up here. Right. Alex's next mistake here is pulling out to try and overtake. So he doesn't have enough overspeed. And he pulls out to try and overtake, but he's only really going the same speed as the car in front. He doesn't really have that overspeed that you need, that you would have got if he'd taken the correct line into that sequence of S's and focused on getting a better exit down this straight. Also, at this point, I think it's simply too early to go for a move. This is being a little bit frustrated about losing a position, starting on pole, you've lost a position. If you just stay in the race, let a lap or two go by, even though it's daily race B, let a lap or two go by, work with the guy in front, work with the guy behind, see if you can get 3 of you to break away a little bit from the rest of the field, maybe 4 of you, consolidate a top 5 or a podium position, and then battle for something better at the end of the race. Now, this concept of the 4 rules and the patient approach that I teach, it works much better in daily race C than it does in daily race B because daily race B is so short, but it does still work in daily race B, especially when you're qualifying up front. So P1 thinks about defending it. Alex gets a bump draft from the guy behind. I don't think that bump draft was deliberate. I think the Italian driver is going for a move and just hit Alex accidentally. And then this is where the race starts to go bad. So that's not Alex's fault. Let's look at it one more time. So you can see he's just holding his line. And then he gets hit. So rule number 4 is don't overreact. Now, Alex doesn't go taking revenge here. And I really want to point something important out here. Alex is a good man. I've come to know him, respect him, and like him as a friend, not just as a student or a customer. So I know Alex's temperament as a person. And he doesn't go trying to seek getting revenge on people. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't overreact. The overreaction here is a desperation to fix his race, basically. He becomes desperate to fix his race, and that is the overreaction. So let's see what happens. So he defends that nicely, holds the inside. The other driver decides to back out of it. That's sensible. Now, there's the first desperation. What happens here is because you're so desperate to catch up again, to regain your rightful position, you start to make simple mistakes. Alex is more than capable of going through this corner without hitting the wall, but when you become desperate, you become flustered and you start making mistakes. It's very important to recognize that one mistake almost always leads to another mistake. Your first mistake can often be mitigated, but the second mistake can often become race ruining. He then gets hit from the car behind. That's not a bump draft. He got hit because he was off track and the other guy's not trying to cater for him, and no one's really trying to think patiently at this moment. As it is, that hit actually helps Alex catch up a little bit. And then this is where he makes the worst decision of the whole race. Now, Alex is not a dirty driver. He's not that personality to be a dirty driver, but he is inexperienced. And he was desperate to catch up a little bit. So he decided to go for what is a low percentage move. That being a move that has a very high percentage probability of going wrong. Again, I've made videos about this, thinking in probabilities. This is what happens when you're not thinking calmly, when you're not in the zone, when you're not relaxed. When you are desperate to catch up positions, you make fatal race-ending mistakes. And the bottom line is, although Alex got hit in a couple of turns previous, and that was not his fault, the race was still possible to be salvaged at that point. He still could have made a top 5, potentially a podium from it at that point if everything else had been executed well and if he'd make good decisions. But then one mistake led to another, which then led to a bad decision to go for a move that wasn't a clean move. This is how I believe most issues at these lower ranks happen. Most initial contact is not deliberate. Most initial contact is a misjudgment, ambition over adhesion. To put that another way, people are going for moves they don't quite have the skill to execute. No one at this level ever decides to back out of a low percentage move. Everyone will always go hero or zero. There is a time in your racing career to go hero or zero. Daily race B is not it. So again, if he'd held back, he wouldn't have hit this guy, and there's one less incident to worry about. Now the problem he's got is that potentially this guy's going to be angry, and this guy might want to take revenge. And there we go. There's the revenge punt from this guy. That's what I'm talking about when I say rule number 3, make friends and allies. If Alex had given this position back deliberately and made it really obvious that he was given the position back, this guy probably wouldn't have done that. And therefore you create a friend and an ally. Message him after the race, sorry, I didn't mean to hit you. I was just a bit desperate. And they would genuinely, most people will say, no problem, understood, because you made an effort to reach out and resolve the situation. Again, I'd reiterate, Alex is not a dirty driver. None of this is deliberate. This is lack of experience, and it is lack of being able to control the emotional reaction because you are not experienced. There's also such a thing as being experienced but not having learnt lessons from it. So I know a lot of people are watching and going to be saying, well, I'm an experienced driver. I've done 1,000, 1,500 races as a B rank driver. That's great. That is really, really great. But if you're not learning these lessons, then that experience hasn't really taught you anything. So when I say inexperienced, I mean in terms of learning from these lessons. There's contact there again. It's not really Alex's fault. He was trying to give room. But you can see now he's falling like a stone. So we fast forward a little bit in the race, and Alex is back up to P8. He didn't make any overtakes, just people crashing out. He now has an opportunity to go for a move again. And it's not that the move isn't on, but I don't think it's the wisest decision. Let me show you what happens. There we go. So I'll show you from this guy's perspective as well. So he served his penalty. This is what makes Alex think it's possible to go for a move. And in Alex's defense, he has a lot of overspeed and he is alongside. So the move is fair. Where it goes slightly wrong, and again, this comes down to the lack of experience, the lack of situational awareness, the lack of spatial awareness. Alex isn't giving him the most amount of room. Like, it just needs to give him a little bit more room. The car really needs to be here. And then this guy's got more room. So we can see there, they're basically making contact. Alex's car is pointing actually over to the left-hand side. Again, this is not Alex being dirty. He is not of that nature. He's someone I have come to know, trust, and like. And this is why I maintain most points of initial contact at these levels are not deliberate. It is lack of car control, lack of spatial awareness, lack of calm decision making, going for low percentage moves. What's normally deliberate is what follows after that initial contact. So Alex is squeezing him just a little bit too much. He then realizes and tries to open out the corner, but he has to slow the apex down so much because of his angle. Dragon Rider should give him the space. Dragon Rider should respect the move as being made and concede it. The mistake Dragon Rider is making here is not adjusting his line and his inputs for the car in front. Again, it's a very common mistake I see in lower ranked drivers. They only know how to drive one line. They only know how to drive one brake input for every corner. And as soon as they have to come off of that line and off of that input and do something different, they're either unwilling or incapable of adjusting what they're doing. So what happens is he turns into the corner anyway. Alex is already there. There's contact. And then again, Alex needs to give a bit more room on the exit. So Alex just turns over too quickly and doesn't give room. Again, I think this is lack of spatial awareness. It is not anything deliberately dirty. What that results in is basically a race-ending moment for Alex. So there we go. You see how the race has gone wrong. And you see how it was all avoidable with different decisions. Racing is harder than people think it is. What am I trying to point out here? Alex could be justifiably angry about the initial contact at the beginning that pushed him wide and lost him 3 positions. But if he had handled the race better from then on, he still could have walked away with this with a top 5 or a top 3 position. And what I see so commonly is people say, my race went bad, other people this, other people that, you can't trust the driving standards. No one ever says, I ultimately ruined my own race. Everyone always blames everyone else. And the reason I'm showing you Alex is because I know he's not dirty by nature. I know he's not super aggressive by nature. I know he doesn't troll by nature. He's a great guy that I regard now as a friend. And yet look what's happening to him when he's on track. This is about practicing the 4 rules, being patient, making smart decisions, race management, situational awareness, spatial awareness, and improving your driving as well. So guys, I hope this was helpful for you. And if this gets good traction, I'm going to start doing some more of these, and I might even open them up to people who aren't actually existing students. Let me just analyze your race. You can gain DR, get better race results without necessarily focusing on being a faster driver. Guys, thank you very much as always for watching. Get out of here and go race.